Good morning, trauma class. Hey, how are we all doing? Right? You get to thinking about this, and the very act of moving from a traditional sort of university model to this online could cause a degree of trauma in the lives of students and staff and faculty. You would be surprised the reactions that I'm hearing from faculty, not only the trauma of trying to start teaching online, right, when they've been teaching traditionally for 20, 30, in some cases like 40, 50 years. It is causing a degree of sort of anxiety in the lives of everyone. But hopefully, throughout the last few months of the class, you've learned some techniques or some strategies to best address the potential traumatic sort of effects that you're feeling. And when I say traumatic, I hope by now you understand that it doesn't necessarily need to be something massive. It just could be, trouble sleeping or having trouble concentrating, that sort of stuff. So I hope everyone's doing well. I'm doing okay, right? I've set up an office on my dining room table. My lovely wife sits across from me. She's a high school math teacher, so she's teaching online as well. And so we sit and I get to stare at her all day, so that's pretty good. I'm trying to figure out how to best do this. This week in particular, we were talking about sort of the spiritual dimensions of what it is we're doing, and specifically about circle processes and storytelling, that sort of stuff that I love. I'm a storyteller and I'm a circle process sort of practitioner. I do both of those, and I wanted to be able to do them in class. And the trauma healing, the little book of trauma healing that you had as for the course, we were going to use that. So we're kind of in a weird place where we're trying to make it work. And so this week, when we talk about circle processes and storytelling, for trauma healing, you're going to watch videos on it, and this is as good as we could get. They're videos that I use, so that's quality stuff. If you take the time, you watch it, and you read the articles that I post, you should be able to pull a lot out of it. That being said, let me plug this in. That being said, I have loosened up the assignment load this week. You're not going to have any discussion posts. You're only having one to 2 page document that needs to be turned in. It's several videos, it's a number of articles, and so I'm leaving it up to you, right? I'm telling you that you need to read this stuff, you need to watch this stuff. If you do, awesome, it's going to help you in the future. If you don't, I guess there's not really any way for me to tell apart from how you perform on the 1 or 2 page document. As you know by now, I've canceled your final exam. I'm trying to make this an easy process for everybody, right? I know this is hard. I've heard from a lot of you that this is a lot, right? That this is a lot of changes that happened all at once, and so I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. But you got to work with me here. I don't want you to get out of here and you have on your transcript that you took this class and you don't know anything about it because you didn't bother to read or watch the video. So please watch the videos, read the articles, and I think that you'll enjoy this material this week. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to beleaguer the point and continue to talk about what you're going to read. Beleaguer? Is that even a word? Beleaguer? Someone can look it up and send me a text. I feel like it's not a word, but I don't want to just drag this thing out, is what I'm trying to say. So just for a few minutes, I want to talk to you about this idea of resiliency and how religion and spirituality can help somebody bounce back from a traumatic event. So I got some notes here that I want to look at. So really 3 things, 3 reactions. You have the non-reactive resiliency, which is little to no reaction to the crisis or the event. Whatever. It doesn't even impact you much. You have the homeostatic resiliency, which is you react to the stressor, but then quickly return back to the state of normalcy or equilibrium once everything's finished. And then you have this, what I like to say is the third piece. I guess there is a fourth that's where you just go off the rails, but I don't even like to talk about that because I don't see that as a sort of a move forward. And it's the positive sort of reaction, this positive growth. You achieve personal growth through adversity. This is what I'm constantly trying to push. This is what I want to see in my trauma survivors. Our person can display a mixture of themes, right, presented in sequence or demonstrated singularly. So you don't just have to be one of those three that I, or even let's say four that I talked about, but you could be one day and moving into another, right? It's not a sort of a linear idea. But ultimately where we want to end up is in this positive growth place where you're actually taking the adversity, you're taking the challenges, you're taking the sort of the beat down that you got from the trauma, and you're turning that into something positive, right? Where you can take that stressor, that crisis, that trauma, and turn it into something for good. As we're looking for this positive growth piece, it often shows itself, or it could potentially show itself in spirituality, right? And so in Christianity, we have many stories of resiliency in the Bible, right? Story of Job and his faith during suffering and hardship. The gospel verifies for those who have faith a freedom that releases us to become who we were meant to be regardless of the circumstances, right? This is what we're seeing, right? I'm recording this on Good Friday, the morning of Good Friday. We're seeing that adversity can become something great. In Judaism, in the Hebrew Bible, are stories about human suffering along with the persistent ability to overcome, right? Everything about the Jewish history is about sort of being able to overcome adversity. Biblical law teaches people to not dwell on the past, but to learn from suffering and create a partnership with God to remove all the aspects of suffering on earth. Right? What about in Buddhism? Right? We are all says that we are all Buddha. We have the capacity to endure what sorrows come our way with the resiliency from within. The Buddhists say that there is 10,000 joys and 10,000 sorrows. It's a natural part of being alive and alert, meaning for everything that's happening bad, there's also something good that's happening. Buddhism says that the world is filled with suffering and pain. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is how we react to the pain. Islam and the Quran is full of guidance and resiliency and forgiveness, right? Muslims believe in fatalism and that everything that happens ultimately comes from God. That is somewhat discouraging, right? In Christianity, we traditionally we have understood that, because we decided to do our own thing, we made a choice to sort of go our own way, and those choices and the reverberations of that choice or those choices is affecting us even now. This is why we live in a sinful world. It's not God somehow throwing rocks down on us from heaven, but it's the choices we've made. In Islam, daily prayers offer a time of strength to strengthen the relationship with God. Ramadan and Hajj is a time for peace and coming together with community and ultimately with God. So there's multiple spiritual reactions to trauma. You can lose your faith, you can gain your faith, you begin to question old beliefs. Life can lose its meaning, right? Sense of the world changing, spiritual doubts, despair. All of these things can be combated by understanding the truths of spirituality, right? Through things like vigils, memorials, healing rituals, community prayer, time to get together. Church attendance can become more prevalent in a community after trauma has occurred, right? New Orleans after Katrina, you couldn't find an empty seat in churches because people were looking for answers, and the spirituality piece of trauma was being sort of, there was a hole, and people were trying to fill that. So that's just some thoughts on sort of my take on spirituality in trauma. You're going to see more of it as you read your articles this week, as you watch those videos, and as you put together that little 1 to 2 page document for me. So keep your chins up, stay positive, stay safe, stay inside, don't touch your face, and make sure you wash your hands. Hope to see my seniors. You know, we're going to see what we can do about putting something together to honor you guys. But for my freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, I'll see you next year, because I have no part of me thinks that we will not be sitting in a class together next year. So we'll see you guys soon. Take care. See ya.